you.
That was not live.
That's all there. Thank you very much. Definitely my favorite congregant of everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Okay. I gotta get someone to live stream this thing.
I just wanted to say hello and thank you for everything, Ron. You're amazing. Amazing. I'm so happy here. So happy here.
I'm so happy you're still here.
She would go nowhere.
Because of the fires, not because of whatever. Hey, John, how do you feel about live streaming service calling?
Sure. From which position?
Anywhere.
Okay.
But standing probably. Is that okay? Okay. Oh, sorry. So, you just go. You can switch angles.
Okay.
Once the place is filled, don't show up.
Sure. Okay.
But you go in. You can. No, you can't. So
Okay.
You just live stream, and the thing is right here.
Okay.
So the
Camera. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And this has enough power.
I hope it has enough power. Shabbat shalom.
Okay.
Let me just see for a second. I have no idea. Hopefully this won't go out in the middle of the service, but I can't promise.
Okay. Good. How are you?
I am sensational. You doing the video?
Yes.
Very good. I should have brought a video camera.
Well, this will work.
That'll work. Put it up on the web.
I'm assuming that the volume is on. Or is it this? Hey, Paul, is the volume on or not? Is it that thing? Over there, or?
I think this is it. So no, the volume is out there. So we're
okay. All right.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Welcome to Congregation Orami 2.0. How do I feel at the end?
Shabbat Shalom. I said to my dear colleague, LiveControl, just to make sure, in this section I'm going to talk for a little bit. He says, what else is new? They didn't find it funny either. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Paul Kipnis, one of the rabbis here at Congregation Army, with Cantor Doug Collar, Rabbi Julia Weiss. We welcome you all here to Shabbat services. Here we're at the campus of D. Toledo High School, the second largest Jewish high school in the country. We have a number of students who graduated from there, and my own wife, Michelle November, is the director of admissions. So if anyone wants a tour, just find Michelle later. You won't get one tonight, but whatever. We are here after a long week. We are here in our home, away from home for a little bit. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that our building at Congregation Or Ami is safe, yet smoky, really smoky. And since we start out as a wandering shul, and since we do services wherever, in backyards, down by the beach, in your living rooms, wherever, we're going to hang out here at D. Toledo High School for a little bit. Probably about 2 weeks, we'll be back in time for Hanukkah to rededicate the temple, like they did back in the day. The reason we're going slowly is our president, Fred Gruber, and his task force want to make sure that we do it right the first time. And also, it's kind of unique because we're in leased space. So we don't just get to make our own decisions, we also have to negotiate with the other side of the building. If we're not going at the same pace, what we do and what they do may be different and may be complex with the variety of systems. But the building is safe, but the fires did come right up to the sign, right at the entrance. But we praise existence, praise life, praise God that we are safe. So many of you who were evacuated from your homes, raise your hands again. I know the cancer had to do it. Our guests from the calls, we called all congregants, by the way, I think 3 times. Half of them, half the congregation was called after the shootings. And then the next day, we ended up starting to call about the evacuations, and we got help from all over the country. How many people got a call from someone who was from out of the country, out of the state, I mean, out of the state of California? How about half of you? So we want to check in, and the sense is that at least 80% of the congregation was under mandatory evacuation at least once, or if they were involuntary, then you left your house. So very impactful. And yet we're here. And we can celebrate that we'll be okay. We lost about, we think, 7 homes that we know about of congregants or congregant close family. One of our staff members, Andrew Fromer, had just moved into a place and the apartment burned down. We immediately, with the help of our interns, we got him and everybody else some substantial gift cards to go to Target or wherever to purchase some essentials. And we're working with the help of Jewish Federation and Jewish Family Service to provide support and care and make sure that people are taken care of and love them through this long transition. And we're here. And as Rabbi Julia will talk about later, we jumped into the fires, but we still in time have to talk about those shootings. Because the first one in Pittsburgh, just about 3 weeks ago, and then the ones in Thousand Oaks, just really over a week ago. And then immediately the fires, I mean, that's 1, 2, 3 things coming all at once towards us. And what do we do with that? What do we do with the fires that are the flames, whether the flames of the fires or the flames of hatred that are coming toward us? I want to tell you a story, and it's a personal story, and it's a true story. Because I want to help all of you who are here, and all of you who are worshiping with us via the live stream. Thank you, Bronze Productions. So think about it. I've been in touch before as the fires were going, Rabbi Julie and I and Camp Doug, with our colleagues in Houston where there were the floods, in Parkland where there were the mass shooting, and in Santa Rosa where there was the fires a year ago. And what they told us again and again is that it doesn't end when you get back into your house. The process of rebuilding for those who lost houses is tremendous. But the process of healing from the recognition that what happened in these fires is the new normal. It's going to happen. And these shootings are going to happen. It's going to get worse before it gets better. It takes time. And we have to recognize that. What my colleagues told us is that those who survive, those who evacuate and come back to their houses, when you recognize the fire comes all the way up, or when you see your friends' homes burn down and you're okay, there's trauma attached to that also. So the story I want to tell you is so you realize that I, who studied this stuff like the other rabbis here and cantors in rabbinical school, and doing advanced pastoral counseling work, and talked to all the people who told me what was going to happen there, yesterday I had to take the day off, even though I had work to do and it wasn't my day off. Because the day before I hit the wall. So you know what it means, and I'm not saying this for sympathy or caring, I'm good. But starting at about 6 o'clock yesterday night, 2 nights ago, I started crying, talking to my kids about what was going on. And I live in Tarzana. There's no fire in Tarzana. I got to go away, and I was just organizing. And yet, it was overwhelming. So I figured it was because I was tired. And then when I woke up in the middle of the night at about 4:30, and the fire, and I was watching a TV show, and it was about a dad who couldn't find time for himself, and finally broke away and went surfing, parenthood. I found myself bawling in bed at 4:30 in the morning. And so when I woke up that next morning, I fell back to sleep. The first call I made was to my therapist, who I see from time to time, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. And he could see me at 5 o'clock. So I then called Sally Weber from Jewish Family Services, a social worker and a friend. And she could see me talk to me at 2:30. So then I called the rabbinic organization, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, who has a crisis counselor, and he said, I'll be in touch with you, I'll call you back in 20 minutes. And I talked for an hour to him, and an hour to her, and an hour to him. And you know what I discovered? I, who wasn't touched by any of this, am traumatized by what happened. That it was exhaustion, but not just that. What I realized was, in a big way, that shooting. First, they came after us, right? At a synagogue, that's us. And then, over at that country western dance bar, where one of our young people, college students, was in there dancing and ran for his life and is okay. And I had been sitting with him about 5 days earlier and telling him that the chances of it's terrible and it's going to get worse before it's going to get better, but the chance of something happening, right, are about as likely as stepping off the curb and getting hit by a bus, which I buried someone from that early in my rabbinate, and then 5 days later, he was in a shooting. And I realized that I didn't know how to keep my kids safe, or my congregant kids safe, or my congregation safe, or the school safe. And I couldn't sit back anymore. And I was frustrated and sad. And then I realized that I had been feeling guilty that we were here in this gorgeous place and nothing really happened to us. And the joke was, yeah, we got evacuated and I had to have my Starbucks instead of my peach coffee in the morning. But in fact, the fires went all the way up to everybody's building, but I lived in Tarzana. But then I came to realize that the fear of what was happening to people I love And the recognition that it happened in Ventura a year ago, and 2 years ago in Calabasas, I carried those towers out of the arcs across the bridge, and we have signs up with things to take out during the evacuation, if we have to evacuate it. The only reason we did so well, by the way, is because our president, Fred Gruber, put our whole system online. So we have all your phone numbers and addresses and everything online, and could get in touch with you. Prescient, prophetic thing. I realized that with the fire, that, you know, camps got destroyed until I realized that, well, I was a director of campus for 4 years. It was so long ago, I forget. And all our teens go to JCA Shalom. That's their home away from home. And then I realized that a year ago, my Camp Newman, where we go every summer, burned down. And I had compounded trauma on that. And then I realized that if I want to do something about these fires, and not have them happen all the time, or I want to do something about the shooting and not let it happen all the time. I mean, we could guard up the security, which we will, but there were guns in front of, there were security guards in front of that bar, and it didn't do much good there. That I'm going to have to stand up and become someone different. And that's scary. But mostly, I learned that this is overwhelming for me. And I'm trained on doing this. And Rabbi Julian Cantor Doug and I train interns every year about just this stuff. So if it can happen to me, they tell me it can happen to you. And even when you go back to your house and it's fine, take your pulse. And if you can't sleep as well as you used to not sleep, or if you can't relax, or if grades start to change, or behaviors start to change of the kids or the adults, or something seems off, call Rabbi Julia, or call Cantor Doug, or call me, or call the Jewish Federation hotline, or call Jewish Family Service, or call your therapist, or call a friend. I was lucky because of my training. I could tell something was wrong, and I'm not over it. I had to give my eating over to Michelle. I said, I'll eat whatever you tell me to eat. I will go to bed whenever you tell me to go to sleep. And I have friends set up to check out. I'm okay, because I did the work, and I'll continue to do the work. But we all have to do it. All of you out there, you have to do it. It's not over when we're back in our houses. Because of the fires, it's not over. And because of this insidious shooting, it's not over. And we've got to deal with it. In a minute, we're going to light Shabbat candles. And we're going to take the same element, the fire, that destroyed, and use it to create light and hope for today and for the future. We're going to light Shabbat candles to bring Shabbat light, so that Or Ami, or light of my people, can do what we did this whole week with the help of our incredible interns, Meir and Tammy and Alana, and last year's intern Julie, and our Jen Quick, our incredible youth program manager, and our staff who were working all different hours, and our cantor calling in. He was out of the state for part of it, calling in every morning to check in and figure it out. And Rabbi Julia was the visionary who realized that we had to hit this one right away and set up this camp. We brought light to each other and to this community and into our world. And that's what we're going to continue to do. Bring light, not of destruction, but of love and of caring. So I'd like to invite up our bat mitzvah for again a couple of weeks. Right here. Come on in, Daisy. I bring your mom and dad and your brother. Come on over here. And when we light candles, I want you to cup your hands, which is what we're taught. And when the lights are lit, I want you to bring forward 3 circles. One for the light, one for the warmth, and one for the love. Because after these weeks, we need the light and the warmth and the love.
There's a hole in the universe from which nothing escapes. Not on the song sheet. There's a hole in the universe from which nothing escapes. Things fall through to the other side, come out in different shapes. Who made the earth and sky? What makes the planet spin? Where do we come from? How did it all begin? The stars in the sky send out a flare as they burn into ash. Their light bears a message of yesterday's news. All things must pass. Who is beyond all time? Where is the end of space? What lives forever? Why is it all in play? So many questions, and so little time to ask them. Blessed are you, Adonai.
I'm okay.
How can we know you? Where can we find you? You are so close and yet so far away. Tiny egg, a little seed. Life begins with a breath. For 6 long days, work is good, and on the 7th there's rest. Who is the source of life? What makes the seasons flow? Where do we come from? When will we ever know? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam We'll continue on the prayer sheet with listen. We'll invite up Rachel or Tammy and our Madriche Shira. What number is it on the first? 7. Page 35 of the prayer book.
When I think about this part of our service, we're about to pray the Micha Mocha. I'm thinking about our biblical story, the parting of the sea. And I imagine that the Israelites, so many years ago, were standing at that edge, breathing really hard and fast, because they've just run away from Pharaoh and from being slaves in Egypt. But now they were let go. But they're at a crossroads because they're standing at the water's edge, and if they turn back, they're going back to slavery. But if they go forward, they're going to drown. And so there's a lot of fear there about what do I do next? But either by a miracle or a natural disaster, or you fill in the blank, the sea split, and our people walk toward freedom. And then our people, including Moses and Miriam and Aaron, they sang the song that we're about to sing, our freedom song, Michamocha. I want to share my favorite interpretation or introduction to Michamocha. It's in our Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer book. And it feels really appropriate at a time like this, where I feel like we're in more need of healing and community than ever before. Standing at the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding ways of that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. That is how the Israelites got across to freedom. At least we're taught that in a midrash, a rabbinic interpretation, that they didn't run across, pushing one another out of the way. That when they were faced with a chance to go forward, to reach that freedom, they held one another and they walked hand in hand. And that's what we do right now. We hold one another. We walk forward. Maybe we're going to carry each other across the mud to the other side. The side where we feel free, where we feel peace, where I hope we feel safe. And we're going to get there together.
Number 8. Shamru, it's number 9, and we'll invite up the bat mitzvah in a couple of weeks. Daisy to lead us in Micha Mocha. Shamru. Please be seated. Song number 5 on the green line song sheet. Song number 5.
In this week's Torah portion, Vayetze, our biblical father Jacob dreams of a ladder going up from earth to heaven, with angels of God going up and down. In this dream, God promises to Jacob and Jacob's offspring, that God will be with us forever. And Jacob awakes from this dream and says, truly, God was in this place, and I did not know. This was a dream, a pleasant dream, a peaceful dream. And so Jacob is confident that God was in this place, and he didn't know. But what about the nightmares? The terrors that so many of us have witnessed and been affected by over the last 3 weeks. Not only the fires that shook so many of us to our core, forcing us to leave the comfort and safety of our homes, left some of us sleeping upright in hotel lobbies, in parked cars, evacuating, returning, and evacuating again, unable to breathe clearly, coughing the smoky air, unable to return to home or to businesses because of the smoke damage or the fire damage. Not only the fires, but the shootings. The one that felt so close to home, as Rabbi Paul was talking about, the shooting in Pittsburgh. It was across the country, but the pain we felt were for those and their loved ones that lost someone in the shooting. The pain of congregants sitting next to one another that were shot. The pain of the parents celebrating a baby boy. And then the shooting that was actually in our backyard. The one where our people, our Oremy family, opened their doors in the middle of the night to terrified college kids who wanted to spend the night country line dancing, but ended up running away, running in terror from the gunshots. And in our backyard, because, as Rabbi Paul mentioned, our own kid, one of our Oremy family members, was in that bar at that time, also running for his life. I sat with him last week and we talked about the healing process. We talked about where God is, when indeed it doesn't feel like God was in the Thousand Oaks bar that night. And just as I offered these words to him a week ago, we're going to offer all of them to you tonight, because at the moment, we are thankful for being here, for being safe in this moment, thankful for our lives.
And so, whenever you survive a surgery or an accident, or go through danger and make it out the other side okay, or interestingly, give birth to a baby because of the high mortality rate back when, even in some parts of the world today. Whenever you go through those dangerous times and make it through, we have a special blessing in which we thank God that we got through, for the goodness that came to us. And so many of us here have gone through fires and shootings and somebody even an accident this week. And so we sing a prayer together. So I'm going to ask if you or a loved one or friends involved, were near, were affected by that shooting in Thousand Oaks, let me ask you, if you're comfortable, to please rise. If you're connected by family or friends or loved ones to those who lived in or part of the synagogue, the community that in Pittsburgh, Square Hill, let me ask you to please rise. If you or a loved one lost your house in these fires, let me ask you to please rise. If you needed to evacuate your home or your business, let me ask you to please rise. If you took people into your house, if you made calls to check in on how people were doing after the shooting or after the fires, during the fires, you're part of a community of caring that takes care of each other during these times, please rise. Because we know that it's not just the first trauma that we need to give thanks for getting through, but the secondary trauma of knowing people who have gone through it. And so, prayer number 1 on the green sheets, the Birkat HaGomel, written by Rabbi Cantor Kyle Kotler, son of our own Cantor Doug Kotler. We say standing, and if you need to hold on to each other, we sing a blessing of thanks.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hagomel vayamim tovot shekem amani koto. Blessed are you, Adonai. Blessed are you, Adonai. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Amen. Amen. Mishegamalcha koto, uyigamalcha koto. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Amen. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai. Blessed are you, Adonai. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Amen. Amen.
A prayer for these fire-filled days. Our God and God of our fathers and mothers, as the flames burn, wreaking havoc upon our homes, our hills, our firefighters, our sense of security, we turn to you for comfort and support. May our homes be safe, our hills endure, our firefighters be protected, our sense of security renewed. Guide us to care for the displaced, to bring healing to those suffering, to watch over the animals, to support those who fight the fires. Though our attention spans can be so short, may we be slow to forget those who were in danger. And help us remember that we can seek your presence even during the flames. We recall your loving hand guiding us in our infancy. In a burning bush, you spoke to Moses, sending him to lead our people out of slavery. In a pillar of fire, you led our people through the wilderness to the promised land. With the black fire on white fire, you wrote the Torah, our guide for living in this world. Back then, we found our way through your light.
Be with us now, guiding and comforting us during these smoke and fire-filled days. Draw us close to those harmed by these flames, hearing their cries, responding to their needs. Please bring abundant rain from the heavenly realms to the fire areas. And may we embrace at least one lesson spoken aloud again and again by so many who, facing the flames, rushed to pack up their valuables. That memories of love and of time spent with family and friends are priceless, holy, and sacred. This can never be taken away. As we rush to meet the challenge of living in this imperfect world of ours, may we slow down enough to cherish those who are truly valuable, kadosh, holy, to us. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. Blessed are you, O God, who differentiates between the truly valuable and everything else.
What does healing mean when it feels like our world is so broken? When our community doesn't feel safe? My answer: God is in the moments of calm, the smile, the connection, the peaceful breath, the holding hands. This is when God is in God's place, just like Jacob's dream. This is when God is in this place. This is when we can begin to heal. May God help us see and feel those moments, even if and when they are brief. Those moments of peace and comfort and safety for us, our neighborhoods, our community, our state, our country, and our world. Tonight, we not only ask for healing for all of that, but we ask for healing for all of you and also all of our loved ones. So as my hand goes around the room, I ask that you mention those who are in need of healing tonight and their relationship to you. Tonight, we ask for healing for
My brother's name is Jessica.
I now would like to invite up Diane Rubin and Daisy.
Hello, Daisy. Daisy, you did a beautiful job. Your voice and presence bring much joy to us. Preparing to be a bat mitzvah, it's a lot of work, isn't it? You had to learn Hebrew, you had to read Hebrew, chant in Hebrew, write all sorts of scripts, speeches, etc. But apart from that, and within all that, I usually have a script when I do this. And this crazy week, I didn't get a chance to do that, so I'm kind of winging it here. So, Daisy, I think one of the most important things is we have an amazing team here, don't you think? With Rabbi Julia, Rabbi Paul, Cantor Doug, Diane, preparing you for this process. But on top of all that, it's all about who you are and what you do. And Rabbi Julia told me that you're very sensitive, you're kind, you've done a great job working with some of the younger kids, right? And she loved working with you and working with you, continuing to prepare you to be a bat mitzvah. And can I ask you a few questions? These are easy. Where do you go to school? Here.
Colina Middle School.
Okay, and what do you do when you're not at school or studying for a bat mitzvah? Activities?
Probably see my friends a lot, and I walk the dog a lot, so Chick-fil-A with my brother.
I love it. Did you do any sports?
I dance.
Oh, great. And what kind of dance?
I do ballet and contemporary.
I love it. And what was your, if you had a mitzvah project, what did you do?
My mitzvah project was I made a bunch of homemade blankets for foster children.
And fantastic. And then would you bring them? Or?
Yeah, we went to the temple and we were the organization and give them to foster kids.
Fantastic. We're very proud of you for all the work that you've done, and truly we hope that you continue the Tikkun Olam, helping to repair the world. I want you to know that no matter what, at any age, Army is always a home for you. With the many activities, there's always something for you to do here. On top of your love. And with that, we'd like to say Mazel Tov, and here's a gift for you on behalf of the congregation. Thank you. Great job.
I want to tell you about 4 things. I want to tell you about a visionary. I want to tell you about a tray of blintzes. I want to tell you about some face masks. And then I want to tell you about tikva. Oh, visionary. You know, this, Rabbi Julie and I were sitting with some of the staff today, and Cantor Doug and Rabbi Julie and I, and we were talking about how in all the 22 years we've spent in congregation, we have just the best staff collected together who work at such a high level that the response to these fires and these shootings happened on such a high caring level because of them. Because Diane evacuated the big Torah and was making calls to all sorts of people, because our interns, literally some of them stayed overnight at Rabbi Julia's house the next night and planned how the day camp was going to go the next day because we were opening it up here. How Meir was, those emails that Rabbi Julia and me and Cantor Doug sent out, half of them were authored by Meir, because we had a short conversation of what it should say, and he put them together, and then we edited them down because we were doing so many things all at once, because Tammy came from the city twice, stayed overnight so that we could do a Shabbat service and then a Havdalah service by live stream to make it happen, because Jen was juggling all sorts of things all over at the same time, and our office staff made it through. And Cantor Doug, with his vision and support, and me, I did my piece too. And I'll only say this once because it caused palpitations when I do, but the reason that this Jewish community, that so many synagogues are open so quickly, the reason that the Jewish community from Thousand Oaks all the way to the Valley Circle line and beyond, the congregants, Jewish community feels whole and together and supporting each other. The reason that parents have a place to drop off their kids. The reason that Federation and the synagogues and Elan Ramon Day School and the camps are working in such great connections is not because of me. It's because Rabbi Julia, in the midst of the shooting, as we were doing the response when the fires hit, called me a couple of hours later and said, we've got to get everyone together and we're going to do a day camp. And I said, what are we going to do? And she says, we'll figure it out. You get me the place, we'll make it happen. And then for the next 7 days, she worked, not 24/7, though your kids probably catch up then, but something like 18/27, and organized all the pieces and made it happen, and used our interns like partners and our other staff too, and led the community. And so yeah, I talked to Federation, negotiate things out and build connections. And yeah, I talked to the rabbis and wrote the things and put the things on Facebook because I'm addicted to it. But it all really happened in the beginning and continually because this precious partner that Cantor Doug and I get to work with day after day after day, and that's our own Rabbi Julia Weiss. So thank you. And we ate delicious food tonight because Rabbi Lisa Hochberg Miller and the Jewish Federation in Ventura said we're going to feed you. And so if you are from Temple Beth Torah or from the Federation, please rise. I think we have So my wife tells me the following story after it's all done. And she wrote about it, it's on her Facebook page. It's probably online too. So she's sitting at her desk here at D. Toledo, which is the admissions director, and she gets a text from Alana Zimmerman from Valley Beth Shalom, the conservative synagogue, that is hosting an evacuated bar mitzvah from Shomer Torah synagogue that had to move. They couldn't be there. It was a great party, but there was these trays of blintzes left over and all this other food, and would congregation of Or Amin, where your husband's the rabbi, like it. For the day camp maybe. And Michelle, who was bifurcating every day, doing admissions work for D. Toledo High School, and doing being part of the team here with Congregation Or Amin, knew that we had so much food that we could plot and we didn't need it. So she realized that, wait, we have a Elan Ramon Day School that just lost its a number of significant buildings. We're coming here to D. Toledo to have a service to support each other. And she knew that Federation had helped arrange that with Jewish Family Service support. So Michelle said, we've got to get someone to deliver those blintzes here to D. Toledo, but how are we going to do that? And so Alana looked over and saw someone from the synagogue, someone from D. Toledo was there, a sophomore, I think, a second-year student, who drove up over his car, and they loaded in all those blintzes and that leftover food, and he came all the way over and came here, and the staff at D. Toledo cleared out, the incredible maintenance crew, the security crew cleaned out refrigerators to make sure the food could be set, and they put out tables, and when those hundreds of people came to be together in The sad time after the loss of these critical buildings where Rabbi Julia's own kids have gone and one of them still goes. Afterwards, they could eat a sweet nosh. Michelle said to me, and as she wrote about, her grandma Ruby, may she rest in peace, used to say that some nice sweet blintzes, or at least a good plate of food, could make everything okay, at least for a moment. It was like Grandma Ruby was whispering in her ears, saying, get those blintzes over to here. So you had Valley Beth Shalom and Shomrei Torah Synagogue and Congregation Or Ami, Federation Jewish Family Service, Temple Aliyah program at D. Toledo with Alon Ramon. 8 communities, how did we get 7 the last time we counted, all connected together to support each other in love because of a tray of blintzes. If you want to hear about all the great things that Or Ami has done, take a look at this week's Jewish Journal. There are at least 4 or 5 mentions of the synagogue. Often it's my name because I was the press guy. But it is... that was my job. I was assigned to that. So it was the whole staff that Rabbi Joe was going, thank God it was you. But take a look at it. The last thing is this. Just got home tonight, and I'm like lying down for my 43 minutes of rest before I had to get back up and change into clothes and get back here to help lead services, for the family services. And I just checked my text to make sure there's no emergency before I go. And there's a text from one of our congregants, Allison Colleen, whose husband, Ewan, is a firefighter with Pasadena Fire Department. She says, you know, all the firefighters are so appreciative of all of the delicious... And once the guy stops lazing around all he's been doing this last 7 days, that was sarcasm, by the way, we'll get him out here and thank him and some of his team. But she said, you know, everybody's doing great, bringing food, bringing cards, and that's all meaningful, but we got plenty of food and plenty of cards. But if you really want to help the first responders, these men and women who are going into these places and keeping our homes and our lives safe, then you know what they really need? They have all the equipment they need for building fires, but they're not set up for these brush fires and wildfires. And they don't have yet the masks that will protect them from the particles and all the stuff that gets in that's different than what happens in a building. And she said there are these masks called
N95.
No. I don't remember what they're called. There's something masks. Anyways, that these higher rating masks that she says they run about $65 plus tax and shipping. And if they got those, not only would they be safer in the moment, but they'd be safer later on because of less lung issues and mouth and nose issues. And she says maybe, you know, you could tell people and they could go online and they have a discount worked out to the price I just said. It ends up being about $70 each. And you can get some and bring them to your local firefighters. And so I picked up the phone and I called the guy and I said, what do you got? He says, like 20. I said, 20 is nothing. What can you get me? He says, I'll call the owner of the manufacturer. Where's the manufacturer? Camarillo. He called the guy and says, I have only 100 left because you gotta get the mask and you get the pouch and whatever. And he said, and these are industrial ones that you can use over and over again to change the filter. He says, I got 100 of them, but they're going. Quick, what do you want? I said 100. He said, about $7,132. I said, I'll call you right back. Picked up the phone, called someone I trusted. I said, what's the right number of these? He said, what do they got? I said, 100. He said, get 100. You'll get it. And so, about 2.5 minutes later, I own 100 extra strength safety masks for firefighters. Michelle and I will pick them up in Camarillo. We'll go to the base camp in Camarillo. No? You're in Agora now? Thank God I don't want to drive that far. We're going to Agora, and we're going to deliver it. I'm going to keep out enough to make sure our local fire department headquarters over on Moreau Road, Las Virgenes, has enough. And then the rest of them will give out to anyone, any of the firefighters there. Haywatt's team has it already, but he's going to be given some to give out. So, we don't usually talk about money on Shabbos, but Pikuach Nefesh Dofen Shabbat, that saving a life pushes off all the laws related to Shabbat. If you want to do something good for firefighters, pick a number. They're about, say 65, say 70 bucks each. Sometime in the next week, either you or tell your friends or tell your friends' friends, go online. Go to ormy.org/donate and donate. $5, $10, $60, $5, $100, $100, whatever you want. And let's buy those things. I'm not paying for all of them myself. And let's take care of these firefighters so that they don't have to worry about their health. They don't have to worry about their future. Because if they were protecting us, we make sure to protect them. Hey, well, I know you're out there somewhere. Stay safe, and we will be taking care of you and do anything we can. Thank you for all the service that you do. The work we do is about holiness. The work we do is taking care of each other. We take care of them, they take care of us, we take care of each other, and the world will go better. Let's look at that and handle every problem that way. If you lead not with hate, not with othering people, but with love, amazing things can happen. So we've moved through a service. Joy, prayer, holiness, healing, thanksgiving, and some moment for a different kind of sadness, because we have to take some time to remember those of our loved ones who are no longer with us, who have died at the season in years past. We want to remember those who died in the synagogue shooting back in Square Hill. And we want to remember the people whose lives were taken from them, murdered, while they were dancing in a country western bar. And along with them, and so from that Badlands, we remember Sean Adler, 48 years old, Cody Kaufman, 22, Blake Dingman, 21, Jacob Dunham, 21, Ron Hellis, 54, Elena Housley, 18, Dan Manweek, 33, Christina Morissette, 20, Justin Meek, 23, Mark Misa Jr., 20, Telemakis Orfanos, 27, and Noel Sparks, 21. And to those names, we add the names of our loved ones who are no longer with us. Some of you are remembering your loved ones at this time of Kaddish, so I bring my hand around the room and invite you to mention aloud their name and their relationship to you. Tonight, we remember. For all of them and all of us, we turn in our white prayer sheet to the really small letters of the Kaddish. It's prayer number 13, 15, and we rise as one community as we say it together. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yadamah, Yikarach, Yutei, Yamizmah, Yutei, V'chayachon, V'yomechon, Chayei, Chol Beit Yisrael, V'ad Allah, Rizman, Kariv, V'yu, Amen. Yehei Shemei heavens, bring peace to us, to all Israel, and all the world, as we say together.
Amen.
I'd like to invite up also our interns to join us up here, Rabbi Julia. And we end the same way we end at those kids end the day at those summer camps, Camp Newman, Camp S. Kramer, Camp Hilltop, JCA, Gimli Hilltop Camp, JCA Shalom. By the way, S. Kramer was Alan Stark, or my assistant Susie Starks, our office manager Susie Starks' husband's grandfather, S. Kramer. The way we end those, our board meetings, everything else, we do it by singing Hashkivenu, a prayer asking God to let us lie down in peace and rise up in peace. We thank our Madrache Shirah for jumping in with little notice to help lead us at this and other services. And sing, I'll give you the words. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Enough already, let's fix this world and heal it down, and then we'll be singing.